I'll just quickly, while Sebastian and Fanny, if you want to get your presentation set up, they're presenting next on the work that they've been doing with the Latino community and men's well-being. If you want on our email list while they're just setting up, just maybe share your email in the chat. I will welcome Fanny and Sebastian now, and they can introduce themselves.
Sorry, I didn't put my microphone before, and then I don't see the screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, can everybody hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having me or having us. Yes, thank you for being here today. Today we are going to do a presentation about the Latino men's well-being group, support group that through the Alberta Men's Network we run. There is, before I continue here, we were going to introduce, but I just want to acknowledge first that and honoring that the land we are on. I know we did in the last presentation, but I think it's important we recognize where we are and the following notions. We really we thank you for them for allowing us to be here. The team, let me just. This is a team we are working on. Today, Sebastian is with us presenting also. If you want to present yourself, Sebastian.
Sure, Fanny. Hello, everyone. My name is Sebastian. I'm a community social worker and researcher, and I've been working and learning with AMN for coming close to a year now. Today, I'm going to be speaking more about the analysis of the participant responses to the group, sharing some quotes, and talking a little bit more about what the group is doing with men's well-being into the future. So thanks. You're back on later.
Everybody, today is just Sebastian with me presenting, but this is a team, and like Lisa was mentioned, everything is done in a group, and everybody share the knowledge and the good work with us. And this is the people who was working in this project. Well, and my name is Fanny Oliphant. I got to present myself. My name is Fanny Oliphant. I have been with this group for almost since the beginning, and has been really a privilege to work. This is in my heart, what we're doing here. I have been in the community as a family counselor for more than 13 years and working in different aspects for family violence prevention. And like they explained before, all this work that we are going to present today here came as a result of what we learned from the Alberta Men's Survey, what Lisa and Abbas just was mentioned to you. That was really, we wanted instead to decide what we think it was good for men. We decide to ask the men, what do they need for the well-being and for healthy relationships? We have 2,214 people responding to this survey all around Alberta, but we were lucky enough to have the answers for some Latino men. I was very interested to work with the Latino community as a Mexican, and I speak Spanish and been very involved with the Latino community. And it was for me very important to hear what they have to say. And we were lucky enough to have 132 men's, Latino men's answer our survey. This is representing the 6% of all the responses we have. And this is some of the things we find in our survey. If you want to check exactly, we have in our website all the results. But as a difference that many people think that means is not seeking for help, we find out that was not true. 96% of the men say they need help for their well-being and for the healthy relationships. And they also say they require some services. Yes, they want counseling, they want skill building, social programs, they want support groups, but they didn't know where to go or where to look for this service. 76%, they didn't know where to go and look for these services, but they say that was something they thought they needed. Mhm. So in base of that, in base of the results of the Alberta Men survey and what they were saying, that they want to have groups, a safety place where they can come together, yeah, we decided to start this work, and we did the Latino Men Wellbeing Support Group. Like I say, it's based on the results of the Alberta Men survey, but the most important thing was to create a space for men where they could be talking the important issues they have to talk in a way where they feel respected and most than anything safe. So we initiate with a support group, and we initiate with the Latino Men support group, where men have the opportunity to learn to self-reflection, to do self-reflection. We start to do like Abba say, start to be focused in the aggression and the violence. I think it's very important to do this job as a human beings. Forget about women, men. This, I think, personally, I think we have to come over of that as a human beings, how we can create environments where we can be the best we can be. And that is what we try to do with these support groups we are working on it. They work on their family, their origin, to understand why sometimes I'm behaving the way I'm doing, or what kind of idiosyncrasies and values and beliefs I'm carrying on with me. Understanding their own experience, how they have affected the people who live next to them, or how has been them affected the way they grow up. I believe that if people has opportunity to do self-reflection and look in themselves, they can understand why they are behaving the way they are doing. An invitation with new learnings, new skill, they can behave in a way that is more healthy and create a better relationship with their families. Safety, respect, and confidentiality are just pillars of this work. Men need to be in spaces where they don't feel judgment, they don't feel they are criticized, when they are not shameful for what is happening. Whatever we are doing as a human being until today, yeah, is a product many times of ways we have been learning to react to the situation. Let's bring this reaction awareness. Let's bring these people to learn new skills, and people is willing to change because in during our experience, men wants to learn too. Men wants to have healthy family. Men wants to have good relations with their loved ones, but sometimes they don't know how. Then, if we create these groups where safety, respect, and confidentiality are primordial for this, they are able to talk and express feeling and talk about situations that, like they say, they have never in their life have talked in this way, which I think this is a beauty of this job. During these workshops, we have different learnings. The men in these groups will learn through different activities and experiential exercise. We teach meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercise. We do many exercises with narrative therapy, like the tree of life, the line of life, exercise that help you to go back to reflect about who you are, but at the same time, give you some teaching and some skills to manage situation in different way. We learn about neuroscience, how the brain develop, how the brain change when we are angry, when we are upset, when we are afraid. We talk about trauma and how we tend to respond all the time in the same way. But it's until you become conscious of what you are doing and how you are doing that you can start changing the way you are responding. Uh, they will learn about child development, and that is how it's important, how I treat my kids, how we are create an environment where kids will feel safe to have a healthy develop, and what was happening with them during these sessions. we do regressions that we are thinking about going back on time and how I used to feel through this situation. How was the discipline at home? How safe I feel, and how I'm tend to respond in base of that. We, for sure, we talk about family violence all the types. What is the family cycle and how to get out of there, and the effects that our family have when we are living in a situation where it doesn't feel safe. We do a lot of self-awareness about mind and body scan, body sensation, breathing, just to start to recognize when when I start to lose it, when I start to be out of the control, to learn to how to self-regulate. And we really work a lot in resilient and what they call positive psychology. What is about recognizing positive thoughts, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling when I'm thinking this, and how my behavior is going to change about that. This is some of the learnings, but another important aspect of this program, definitely we talk a lot about masculinity, idiosyncrasies, family of origin, I already mentioned. And we try to explore what we think and how we think and challenge what kind of way of thinking are healthy for me and what things are not healthy for myself. We really try to go and understand what has been the experience I have had when I'm growing up and the impact who has been on me and the impact it's having on my loved ones. It's a lot of self-reflection, a lot of talk about what we do during this program. Another important part is responsibility. Since the first session, we talk about how to keep us safe. What is to feel safe, and what do I need to do to recognize I'm not being safe right now? Setting boundaries and understanding that the way I respond completely 100% belong to me. Maybe the events are completely out of my control, but the way I respond is 100% on me. And that is something we work during all these sessions during this program. This program is about 10 sessions, and every session is 2 hours long. We hope and we expect whoever registered during this workshop, so this well-being program, they are registered for the 10 sessions because the program builds up on to the previous session. Then it's very important the participants being there during the 10 different sessions. Yes, each one of the sessions focusing different learnings. This is the 10 sessions we are working on it. Yeah, I will leave it for a few minutes. I'm not going to read it. But everything is since the beginning how to feel safe, how to manage stress, learning about emotions and recognizing, self-talking, values and beliefs, how to manage stress and conflict, communication, parenting, and finally, healthy relationship and graduation. This is a program we've been running with the Latino community. And this is some of the format of the session. We welcome, when we did this, still we did before the pandemic started. Then we didn't have to do it virtual. We did in a really nice space. Where we welcome, there is introduction. We have a circle and review of the rules. And we do our rules, the group, the first session, the group create the rules that are going to be part of the group. They take responsibility to say what do they want in this group, how do they want, and how do they compromise with themselves. There is another component in this program where they compromise themselves to take some of the skills they have learned during the session and practice this skill during the week. And in our sessions, we start right away after reviewing the rules. We start with reviewing the commitment of the week. We ask how did they, if they could work on it, how was it, if they couldn't do it, why was it? We give some feedback about how they are working about that. Question of the week, we initiate with something that, for example, the first session is, how do you know you are feeling safe? And how do you know you are not feeling safe? And from them, we start to develop conversation with them. Of course, they have some information and theory about what is trauma, neuroscience, everything I have explained before. And then we go directly to activities and strategies because everything is experiential. They really have too many exercises when they can learn about their body sensation, the way of thinking, but everything through exercise. And we have a lot of reflections. How do they feel? What things were the most important for them? If they compromise themselves to do for the next week, whatever they want, the commitment of the week. Finally, we have a feedback every session where we want to know if they feel they learned something, if they can use some of the new skills they are learning with us. That is the format of every session. We did a study, thank you, with the work with the University of Calgary. Dr. Lisa Lorenzetti has been a great support for us to try to validate this kind of job. And we did a study to see if this kind of work is best practice working with men. The study, we did it in Spanish for this group. And we did a pre and post test, the empty scale and the masculinity survey. We have the weekly feedback and finally evaluation. And then 3 months after finish these 10 sessions, we came together with the group and we see if this is still has had an impact on them and if it has been a good for them. We have the masculinity behavior scale. That is what we present. And the Toronto Empathy Questionnaire is the 2 pre-tests and post-tests we present. We have a few issues because we have to translate these questionnaires. And it was a little difficult for the man to understand because in one of the questionnaires is a double negative. And that was a very difficult. We have to explain a few times what the question means for them. Also, in the masculinity survey, we found that many of the things we were measuring, the masculinity was not really what we were presenting in our project. Then we have still some issues there in this pre and post test we established on our group. And more than anything, more than anything, many of these tests are really are done for mainstream, but they are not done to be presented to other communities. I think it still is a lot of work to do to work with communities who have a different immigrants or people who is with no jobs, or people who has different perspective of what is mainstream. I think it's a lot of work to do there. The group we have 80% of them have lived in Canada for at least 30 years. 20% of them have lived here for less than 1 year. And we have people from South America, Central America, Caribbean, and North America from Mexico. Just some statistics. I'm not going to spend too much time in this, but the majority of them were married. 60% of them were married. We have people who have a formal education in the country of origin, but they didn't have too much recognition on education in Canada. And now I'm going to pass to Sebastian, and Sebastian is going to talk about the analysis response. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fanny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll take it from here. So an analysis of our participant responses yielded 3 overarching areas for exploration. So we were looking at what issues are men facing, what skills are gained through the series that are helping in working through these issues, and what kind of supports do men need. And so the men entering the space were seeking out supports and wellness. And a key theme expressed by participants was to manage stress related to social, economic, familiar, or even professional factors. Men sought support for issues related to anger management, recognizing emotion and feelings over powerlessness, and gaining control over reactive behavior. Difficulties in interpersonal relationships like parenthood and family were identified and explored. And above all, participants sought to achieve wellness in their lives. The men expressed enthusiastic support for the various grounding exercises completed by the group, with a particular appreciation for activities rooted in physicality, such as breath and breathing control, body scan, and exploring sensations. The group identified mindfulness practice as a helpful skill towards observing and identifying reactive behavior. And men sought to recognize their feelings in order to develop a more conscious reaction to stress and crisis. However, the most powerful protective factor that emerged from the group was the sense of camaraderie and peer support amongst the participants, as they identified relying on the openness and respect of each other for their continued commitment to the group. You can take me to the next slide there, Fanny.
Okay.
So this workshop was successful because it featured an open forum founded on principles of respect, participation, and a commitment to the group and the learning experience. So on this slide, we're showing you actual responses from participants. Common themes expressed from the group were feelings of unity and brotherhood and a sincerity that allowed them to bond and grow through the experience. The men described the creation of a space of autoconocimiento, which is a word that beautifully describes a space that facilitates and respects one's self-knowledge and self-awareness. Participants were invited to take ownership over the therapeutic environment and their own learning. They're provided with access to information and opportunities to learn about brain mechanisms behind stress and anger, and gain a biological and neuroscientific understanding of stress and the effects of emotions on wellness. The group encouraged an attitude of positive thinking that allowed for safe and welcoming space where men could discuss issues related to fatherhood, family of origin, male identity, masculinity, role models, and relationships. I can go to the next one. So moving forward, while this iteration of the program was delivered back in 2019, Alberta Men's Network has continued to provide opportunities to support men's well-being and the development of healthy relationships. And this is largely because of how positively received this program was, with actually 100% of participants agreeing that they learned something new from this experience. So to accommodate physical distancing in the world of COVID-19, we've shifted the program's delivery to an online format. And while this does present challenges for facilitators and some barriers for participants, here at AMN, we still believe that it's really important to make online supports available at a time when families might be isolating at home and struggling. Furthermore, the program has since been adapted for a more culturally diverse group of participants and not just exclusively Latino men. And I actually had the pleasure of participating in one of these groups myself. So rather than discussing one's country of origin as a shared experience, our group explored the shared experience of living through the COVID-19 pandemic and how this has affected our own individual wellness. Lastly, Fanny is working with Alberta Men's Network to develop a facilitation manual for the delivery of this wellness program, with the hopes that we can use it as a guide for other practitioners to carry out wellness programs in their own community and their own spaces. And so you can move us forward there, Fanny, and this brings us to the end of our presentation, actually. We do have a couple more slides here at the end that just show some of our feedback forms and what the participants were asked at the end of every session, but at this point, we would like to end our recording and open the table up to some questions if there are any.